Hey, folks, we got a lot of topics to cover today in the world of crime. In Louisiana, a man robs the same Baton Rouge bank that he robbed 11 years ago. A wild story coming out of the Bayou State. In Florida, Donna Adelson is sentenced for her role in the murder of her former son-in-law. In California, a Playboy model is on the run after being sought for a string of high-end burglaries. In Arkansas, a man whose trial for second-degree murder is 3 months away, he just announced he's running for sheriff. And guess what? He's likely going to win. We're going to be talking about that one. In Pennsylvania, a woman is in prison for, get ready for it, loud sex. These stories and more coming at you today on Crime Wire Weekly. I'm Jim Chapman.
And I'm Kelly Jennings.
I bet you didn't expect that last one, Kelly Jennings.
I was not ready.
It's a fact. It happens in the United States of America.
Well, God bless her.
Loud sex.
Listen.
You heard it here first.
Silencio, por favor.
In many ways, more than one. We're silly this morning, y'all. I don't know what it is. We woke up. It's beautiful outside in South Louisiana.
Cool. It's so cool.
Yeah, 62 degrees when I woke up this morning.
We'll take it.
We will take it. Now, we're going to get into today's stories, but before we do, Kelly has a little announcement to make, and she's looking at me like I have 3 heads because she has no idea what we're about to announce. Oh. But Kelly, you got a series coming up, do you not? On Unspeakable, a true crime podcast by Kelly Jennings?
I do, and I have been working my butt off to make sure that this is the most detailed, in-your-face storytelling of South Louisiana serial killer Derek Todd Lee.
It is probably the most requested case that she gets, or one of the most requested for sure to cover. And this is going to be different than anything you've ever heard out of Unspeakable, a true crime podcast by Kelly Jennings, and that is very highly produced. We even outsourced some production for this one.
Yeah,
not that Jim Chapman couldn't handle it,
right.
But, you know, got a lot of irons in that fire sometimes. So we outsourced some of the production side of what is going on with this particular podcast, and we've got a treat for you today. Right now, you're going to hear the trailer for what, Kelly? What are we calling it?
DTL.
DTL. Here it is.
In the sultry heat of Louisiana, where the bayous whisper secrets and the air hangs heavy with the scent of magnolias, a darkness lurked beneath the surface. Derek Todd Lee was a man whose charm masked a sinister reality. He was a monster. Lee, a seemingly ordinary man with a disarming smile, led a double life that would unravel in a series of murders in the capital city of Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas. As the first reports of disappearances and murders began to surface, South Louisiana was thrust into a nightmare, igniting a frantic search for answers. The true horror was just beginning, and the hunt for a serial killer, eventually known by just 3 letters, would reveal not only the depths of Derek Todd Lee's depravity, but also the resilience of those most affected by his evil acts, the families and the survivors. This is DTL.
So there you have it. Get ready for it. It's headed your way, right, Kelly?
That's right. And listen, every victim matters. Every single victim matters. And so the series is going to give each victim their moment, and so we can learn all about them and everything that happened in their specific circumstance. So I hope that y'all will come along for the ride and that you really enjoy the series. That's
right. And that will be headed your way November 3rd. The first episode of that series drops. So let's get into the crime-related headlines for today, and we're going to start off in Louisiana.
Shout out.
And I'm going to tell you about a Zachary man who held up a Regions bank at gunpoint earlier this year, only to have his plans foiled by a pair of good Samaritans. Well, he had his pleading with the state of Louisiana on felony charges Tuesday morning, and this was inside of a Baton Rouge federal courtroom. Quarrels Harris, who is 52, entered pleas to charges of bank robbery, possession of a firearm, and using, carrying, possessing, and brandishing a firearm during or related to the furtherance of a violent crime. So those are called enhancements, and with those enhancements, he's facing up to 47 years in federal lockup on the charges. If the judge determines he had 3 prior convictions for violent crimes, well, guess what? Life sentence on those 3 strike laws. And so he had a gun in his possession while being a convicted felon, which is yet another charge. Now, Harris's charges stem from a May 8th robbery at a Regions Bank branch on Sherwood Forest Boulevard in Baton Rouge. He stole $2,800 from tellers after holding employees and customers at gunpoint inside that bank. But here's the wild thing about this story. It was the second time Harris had robbed that particular bank.
Well, he likes to bank in one location.
He walked into the exact same Regions Bank in April of 2014, pointed a gun at a pair of tellers and told them, quote, "You know what time it is. Give up the money." I mean, that's a pretty smooth way to rob a bank. You know what time it is. Yeah, I do. With that gun pointed at me, I know what you want. Harris pleaded guilty to first-degree robbery in that case. This was in 2015. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison for that robbery. So in this most recent robbery, he stole a 2008 Honda Civic. I might would have picked a quicker car to steal, but he steals that Honda Civic that he noticed idling in a driveway near his home. He lived in Zachary. This was on May 8th. He drove the stolen car to Regions Bank and walked in the bank. This is just after 10 a.m., wearing a purple LSU sweatshirt. He's got to fly his colors, right? He lingered around in the lobby near the deposit slips for several minutes until the teller called him to her window. He then pulled out a .22 caliber pistol and a black bag and demanded money, ordering the teller to, quote, "Give me everything you got."
He must have watched a movie or two as a kid.
He must have. So he didn't say what time it is this time. That's what I was disappointed about. He told the teller she had 3 seconds to give him the money and threatened to shoot her if she put a dye pack in the bag. The teller didn't have any cash in her drawer, so she begins collecting money from a drive-through counter. Harris noticed a teller in the next lane counting out cash for another customer, and he bumps that customer out of the way, and he begins waving and pointing his gun at customers and employees, then reached over the counter and snatched the cash out of the second drawer. The customer that Harris knocks out of the way, he noticed the gun was positioned between Harris and the counter, and Harris wasn't really paying attention to the gun. So the customer grabbed the gun. He wrestles Harris to the ground. He managed to dislodge the weapon from Harris's hands. Another customer picked up the gun and then slid it across the floor. The bank employee then called 911 and reported the robbery during the scuffle. And after they disarmed Harris, the customer wrestled with him on the floor in the bank's lobby for about 7 minutes until police arrived and took him into custody. That's a while.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're
to be on the ground. Yeah, so he must have been he must have been someone who could handle himself. Yeah. So standing in a West Baton Rouge jail jumpsuit, Harris was subdued as he answered the judge's questions during the hearing. And the assistant U.S. attorney read the allegations out loud in the courtroom. The judge asked Harris if he agreed. Those were the facts. And he basically said, "It's all true." So he didn't even deny. You know what time it is.
I was going to say, I hope the judge said, "You know what time it is."
Oh, yeah.
Prison time.
Now, earlier in the proceeding, the judge asked Harris if he was satisfied with the representation he received during the case, and Harris was very complimentary, and he said, "She's been the greatest person I've ever met as far as an attorney is concerned." And he's met several attorneys in his time.
He knows how to compare them.
That's right. And his public defender, incidentally, was Marcy Blaze.
Well, way to go, Marcy Blaze. You have been a good representation of the people.
You come highly recommended from Mr. Harris, and he knows what time it is. So
look, I'm no criminal, but he only got a couple thou. I mean, why would you rob it in the early morning hours? I would want to do the robbery towards the end of the day when there's more money, hopefully.
I mean, bank robbers, I guess some of them don't think it out. He seems like he was someone that did things kind of sporadically.
You think?
And on the spur of the moment, because he steals the Honda Civic that was idling. I doubt he woke up that day and said, I'm going to go look for a car idling. He got out of his house.
That's an crime opportunity.
Oh, look at that. Somebody's letting their air conditioner run while they're inside grabbing their book sack or something, and I'm going to take this and go rob a bank.
But look, no hate.
The same bank.
No hate.
That's the crazy
towards
part.
the Honda Civic, though, because I had one in high school, and she got me everywhere I needed to be.
Yeah, no, I ain't hating on Honda Civics, but I'm hating on them for bank robberies. I mean, get you a Corvette or something.
You know what time it is.
You know what time it is.
Stylish.
Jesus Christ. You got to outrun the popo.
For real, though. Or actually, you actually just need to make sure you can outfight everyone in the lobby.
Yeah.
Car be damned.
No doubt.
Hey, and that dude's
7 minutes, man.
That dude's a freaking G. You know how gassed you would be after 7 minutes?
That's a lot with your adrenaline and everything. So, yeah, shout out to him. Didn't say his name, but shout out to you. You know who you are.
You know who you are. And you know what time it is. Take that trophy. All right, so now let's go to Arkansas, where an Arkansas father who allegedly killed a man he found in a truck with his teenage daughter is now running for sheriff. Aaron Spencer, who's 37, announced his plan to run for Lonoke County Sheriff on his campaign's Facebook page Friday, October the 10th. Spencer, who is charged with second-degree murder, is scheduled to stand trial in January of 2026. He is accused of fatally shooting Michael Fossler on October 8th, 2024. The shooting occurred after the military veteran allegedly found his 14-year-old daughter in a truck with a 67-year-old man. And if you remember, we covered this previously when this first broke.
We did.
Yeah. So Spencer allegedly told police that Fossler kidnapped his daughter and lunged towards him when he ordered him out of the truck. He told police he had no choice. At the time of the shooting, Fossler was facing multiple charges, including internet stalking of a child, sexual assault, sexual indecency with a child, and possession of child pornography. I'm the father who acted to protect his daughter when the system failed, Spencer said in the 1-minute Facebook video. And through my own fight for justice, I have seen firsthand the failures in law enforcement and in our circuit court. I refuse to stand by while others face these same failures. Spencer said his campaign to run for sheriff of the department that arrested him isn't about me. It's about every parent, every neighbor, every family who deserves to feel safe in their homes and safe in their community, he said. It's about restoring trust where neighbors know law enforcement is on their side and families know that they will not be left alone in a moment of need.
Yeah, and look, I don't know how much people have followed that story. I can tell you it's one of the top requested stories that For Exposed I get right now is to cover this particular case. Very, very crazy case. And look, this guy's probably going to win sheriff.
Well,
first time I've ever heard of someone charged with second-degree murder, and I'm not going to say I'm mad at it.
I'm not either. I mean, obviously this guy's been a repeat offender to multiple people, multiple families, because he was already, under the scope for other things that he's done. Sex offenders are known statistically to not be able to be rehabilitated. So he rehabilitated him for him.
Yeah.
And he stopped him. And this is the thing, whenever they go to court on this one, and this is why, and again, I don't have every single detail of the case. I just have what's been released in the media. But even if you're the law enforcement officer responding to the scene, your perception of the events is everything. Whenever a law enforcement shooting, an officer shoots somebody, your perception doesn't always have to be accurate. It's just you have to prove that what you perceived to be the threat was actually, what you thought was going to happen, if that makes sense. And this dad, I remember in our previous coverage of this, thought that the guy, when he lunged, thought that he had a weapon that he was pulling. And so I'm not sure why the charges.
Well, I understand the look, anytime someone's killed, there's going to be charges brought, and they're going to leave it up to a judge and a jury to decide.
But this was an active, his child, I guess it wasn't an active kidnapping though, was it? I don't remember because the girl was taken from the home and in the car of this guy. This to me is just going to be, it is what it is. You go through the due process. Yeah,
you have to. Because the guy he's not denying he killed the guy. He's just saying the guy lunged at him. There's no video. So it's one. They're going to have to try that through the system because just because the guy says that's what happened doesn't necessarily mean it happens. I believe him.
Yeah.
But I'm saying an officer is not going to bear that responsibility. He's going to bring it to a district attorney and say, You decide whether this guy needs to be charged.
Right.
And the district attorney would rather charge him and have a jury find him not guilty than when you're dealing with a murder.
Yeah.
Just let the guy roll. But I can tell you the entire state of Arkansas right now's eyes are on this case. It's the biggest case in Arkansas.
Well,
right
and
now.
obviously to me, if he's able to even put his hat, in the run for sheriff, he must not have a criminal record. This father and the way that he
guy
speaks.
was a war hero.
Yeah.
And look, he did what most fathers would have done.
Yeah, I expect that. I hate to say that, but I expect at the point that a 67-year-old man has taken my 14-year-old daughter, he's a known sex offender. There's no question in my mind as a parent that that's not good.
No doubt about it.
There we go.
I agree with you. All right, let's go to Mississippi. And a Mississippi man convicted of kidnapping, raping, and killing a 20-year-old community college student. He is set to be executed. Actually, this would have occurred 2 days ago, but look, we are in real time right now when we're recording this. So he's been executed by this point. But I'm going to tell you what led to this. Charles Crawford, 59, has been on death row for more than 30 years. The scheduled lethal injection, which was surprising because a lot of states are going away from lethal injection, having problems getting the drugs. Apparently, Mississippi was able to do that. Comes several months after the execution of Mississippi's longest serving death row inmate in a year of increasing executions nationwide. Crawford was convicted of abducting Christy Ray from her parents' home in northern Mississippi. This was on January 29th of 1993. When Ray's mother came home, her daughter was gone and a handwritten ransom note had been left on the table. The same day, a different ransom note made from magazine cutouts and concerning a woman named Jennifer was found in the attic of Crawford's former father-in-law. The note was turned over to law enforcement, who began searching for Crawford. He was arrested a day later and said he was returning from a hunting trip. He later told authorities he blacked out and did not recall killing Ray.
That is so convenient.
So convenient. At the time of his arrest, Crawford was days away from going to trial on a separate assault charge that stemmed from an attack in 1991 in which Crawford was accused of raping a 17-year-old girl and hitting her friend with a hammer. Despite his assertions that he had experienced blackouts and did not remember committing either rape or the hammer attack, Crawford was found guilty of both charges in two separate trials. His prior rape conviction was considered an aggravating circumstance by jurors in Crawford's capital murder trial for Ray's killing, paving the way for his death sentence. Over the past 3 decades, Crawford tried unsuccessfully to overturn that death sentence. His lawyers are currently appealing to the U.S. Supreme Court, arguing that Crawford should be granted a new trial because his Sixth Amendment rights were violated in his 1994 trial. And it goes through, I'm not going to read all this, but it goes through all these appeals that he's made, that they all make when they're getting sentenced to death. Now, the planned lethal injection was to be the third in 2 days in the United States after executions Tuesday in Florida and Missouri. A total of 37 men have died by court-ordered execution so far this year in the United States. So there you have that. And they're really rolling out these executions now nationwide after several years of not
being able to, really, if
that.
you can't.
Yeah.
And then there was some moratoriums and things that had happened. And just, nobody, there's nothing. I think it'd be crazy to, sometimes I find people like, hell yeah, execute them all. I mean, as a human being, I think that justice must be served, but I will never be excited about somebody's execution. I find that kind of bizarre when people are that, callous. And that's why they get all these, and again, I'm not erring on the side of the guy here. I'm just saying what he did to those victims was callous, but I think this is how we distinguish ourselves from these monsters, that we weigh and we measure, and that's why it took 30 years, is because they wanted to give every chance possible to look through this case. But in that respect, good riddance, because you're a predator.
right.
And nobody was safe around you.
Yeah.
No good. All right, now we're going to go to Georgia, where a professor and mother of 3 children was fatally shot by her roommate who mistook her for an intruder. Erica Anderson, 31 years old, died in a shooting in Columbus, Georgia, that authorities have deemed accidental. Anderson had returned home just after midnight on Monday, October 13th from a visit with her husband and kids who are living in Indiana. Coroner Buddy Bryan said that Anderson's roommate had received alleged terroristic threats from her son, so when she heard a noise while she slept, she picked up a gun and fired 2 shots. The second bullet struck Anderson. You have to think about the roommate that shot her, Bryan reportedly said. I'm sure she's devastated as anyone would be under the circumstances. Anderson had begun work as a lecturer in costumes in the Department of Theater and Dance at Columbus State University in August. Prior to her current role, she taught costumes at Southern Utah University and the University of Florida. She has worked professionally in theaters and opera houses across the U.S., such as the Sarasota Opera and Utah Shakespeare Theater, and backstage for IATSE on touring Broadway shows. She sounds like she was a really talented woman, based on what we're hearing here. Anderson's husband is currently undergoing cancer treatment. Erica had just started this semester at Columbus State University as a professor in the theater department. She was so passionate about her work and her students, and she was truly excited about building her future with the university community she had already come to love.
And obviously an accidental shooting, horrible. The timing on that, it was apparently the estranged son of her roommate that was upsetting the roommate.
Right.
And I guess she thought her son was going to come in there and do something to her. I don't know, but she was probably no one feels worse than her. But, man, this happens more often than people think.
Hey, look, I have a friend that her friend. Okay, so this isn't my personal friend, but we were talking one day, and she's like, "You're not going to believe what happened." I said, "What happened?" Her friend went on a bachelorette trip to like Biloxi or something like that. Well, while they were on the bachelorette trip, one of the bridesmaids who was pregnant went into labor. So since she had to go have the baby, they decided, look, we're just all going to go back home, and then we'll, I guess, reconvene and do this at another time. So she came back home. Her husband was not expecting her back, and when she came in the house, he lit her up.
He shot her?
Multiple times.
Oh, that's horrible.
But she lived.
Thank God.
I know. And they're still married from what I understand. So I'm like, ooh, you would never win a fight with me ever again if you shot me multiple times.
Yeah, that's a very scary situation. And look, it happens. Kids come home late at night and their parents maybe don't expect them, and it's happened. It's just a sad situation. You need to really make sure you see who it is you're shooting before you shoot, because
imagine
accidents like that can happen.
Yeah, and imagine how scared that roommate must have been to think that she needed to shoot. Like, her son must be a
he's got issues apparently.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's pray for all of them and say that
100%.
Even the kids, because these kids now, their dad has cancer and their mom is deceased. So prayers to that family.
All right, let's go back to Louisiana, and we're going to go to New Orleans this time. And I'm going to tell you a story that when I came across this, I'm like, man, this is why I'm not a correctional officer right here. A New Orleans man serving time at the BB60 Rayburn Correctional Center has been sentenced to life in prison. And you're not going to believe what he did to get it. And I was actually shocked that he got life in prison for this, although I do understand it.
Spill it, Jim. What did he do?
So he assaulted a correctional officer with human feces.
Oh, yeah.
Judge William Burris sentenced 37-year-old Tamarcus Porter after a jury convicted him of battery of a correctional officer. Testimony showed that during a security round at Rayburn, a correctional officer gave instructions to Porter, who ignored the order. Instead, Porter reached into his toilet, grabbed a handful of feces, and flung it at the officer, striking him in the face, arm, and leg. And y'all, in the industry, they call that gassing an officer. Yes. A second officer was also hit in the head and shoulder before staff subdued Porter. At the time, Porter was serving a 20-year sentence stemming from 8 convictions in 5 separate Orleans Parish cases, including manslaughter, second-degree battery, aggravated battery, and bringing contraband into a penal institution. So not a nice guy, right?
Yeah, he doesn't seem
manslaughter conviction was originally indicted as a second-degree murder charge after a German woman visiting New Orleans was reported missing. Her decomposed body was later found in Armstrong Park with her throat slashed. In addition to these offenses, Porter had prior convictions for aggravated sexual battery and just a ton of other battery convictions, multiple contraband violations. But you threw shit in a CO's face, and he turned 20 years into life.
Well, I wonder if he had disease. That's obviously going to be the first thing that I would want to know. But I have walked on a tier. I have walked on a tier. Well, actually, not even on it, near it, while they were cleaning it after a huge gassing incident. Shit was splattered on TVs, on walls, and it smelled all to be damned.
I'm sure. Yeah.
That is the most disgusting and vile thing. And clearly this dude's an animal. I'm looking at his picture right now, too. He doesn't even look nice, and that's judgy, but hey, here I am. But, yeah, I don't think society's missing much by this guy not being out on the loose.
Yeah, he wasn't very upstanding citizen to start with, apparently. And so life in prison for him now.
See you later, alligator. Speaking of alligators, let's go to Florida.
All right.
Now, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Central District of California, on the night of December 31st, 2024, 29-year-old Jonathan Rinderneck worked a shift as an Uber driver and drove two passengers on separate trips between 10:15 p.m. and 11:15 p.m. The passengers reportedly told authorities they remembered that Rinderneck appeared agitated and angry. Rinderneck, who formerly lived in the area, allegedly dropped off a passenger in Pacific Palisades. And I know right now you said, wait a minute, I thought we were going to Florida. Just hang in there with me for a second.
Via California.
Right. Well, it'll make sense. Okay. But dropped off a passenger in Pacific Palisades before driving towards Skull Rock Trailhead. There, he purportedly tried to contact a former friend, walked up the trail, took videos with his iPhone, and listened to a rap song, which prosecutors said he had listened to repeatedly in previous days. The music video included things like being lit on fire. At approximately 12:12 a.m. on January 1st, the U.S. Attorney's Office said that the Lackman fire began. Rinderneck reportedly called 911 several times during the next 5 minutes, but didn't get through because his cell phone was out of range. He eventually connected with dispatchers at the bottom of the hiking trail and reported the flames, but by that time, an individual in the area had already told authorities about the fire. Prosecutors allege that Rinderneck drove off, passing fire engines driving in the opposite directions. He reportedly turned around and followed the fire engines to the scene, driving at a high rate of speed. Allegedly, Rinderneck went up to the same trail he did earlier and observed the fire and firefighters taking more videos with his cell phone. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office, in an interview on January 24th, Rinderneck lied about his whereabouts to authorities when he first observed the fire, claiming he was near the bottom of the trail when he initially saw the fire and called 911. Investigators reportedly obtained geolocation data from Rinderneck's cell phone, revealing that he was standing in a clearing 30 feet from the fire as it rapidly grew. Authorities said the Palisades fire was a holdover fire, which is a continuation of the Lackman fire, that began early in the morning of New Year's Day 2025. Firefighters purportedly suppressed the Lackman fire, but unbeknownst to anyone, the fire continued to smolder and burn underground within the root structure of dense vegetation. On October 8th, federal prosecutors announced that Rinderneck, who is now living in Florida, was arrested on a charge of destruction of property by means of fire. Rinderneck faces a mandatory minimum sentence of 5 years in federal prison and a statutory maximum sentence of 20 years in federal prison if he's convicted. Acting U.S. Attorney Bill Esselay said the complaint alleges that a single person's recklessness caused one of the worst fires in Los Angeles has ever seen, resulting in the death and widespread destruction in Pacific Palisades. While we cannot bring back what victims lost, we hope this criminal case brings some measure of justice to those affected by this horrific tragedy. Special Agent in Charge Kenny Cooper of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, Los Angeles Field Division added, the horrific loss in life and property was significantly felt by ATF members, and we are honored to utilize our expertise to provide answers to this community. We remain committed to serving with integrity and distinction.
Yeah, and just to give you an idea of how bad that fire was, y'all, and the fact that this was essentially started by a guy and a lighter,
I mean,
which is so crazy. 6,800 structures burned to the ground. 12 people were killed. 105,000 people were evacuated, and 24,000 acres were burned. All because of this jackass. And, you know, we talk a lot on this show and on our own crime podcast about the fact that Google has become a very valuable tool for law enforcement because it can go back and track what you were searching. Right after this fire, they were able to track via Google that this jackass had searched, can you go to jail for a cigarette starting a fire?
Wow. Tell
So
us
that pretty
more.
much, yeah, I mean, like, that's some pretty strong evidence. You probably started the fire.
The sentencing here to me doesn't seem harsh enough. After I went and listened and watched some of the accounts, and one stuck with me of a woman who had, I believe he was disabled, a disabled son, an adult disabled son, and she had to leave him because she couldn't physically carry him. And he told her, "Go, Mom."
Yeah.
And he passed away.
Yeah.
How does a mother make that decision to leave her son because she can't physically move him? And he gave his mother the gift of saying, "It's okay, you can go." And I say the gift because, you know, she'll have to live with this forever. And then he's just facing, that's nothing.
Nothing. Yeah, that's right.
He
In
wiped out
comparison.
people's memories and their lives.
68,000 different people lost structures.
You know, and to put it into perspective, if I were to go and interview one person from every structure and them tell their story, I couldn't cover that in a year.
Right. No, I agree.
So, you know, I have no remorse or no compassion right now for this guy. I don't know. I just feel like that's an under sentencing.
All right, I agree with you. Let's go to California. Several people claim that they were victimized by a woman of targeting elderly men on social media dating platforms and apps and burglarizing their homes. The LA County Sheriff's Department identified the suspect as Adva Lavi, who appeared in Playboy and Penthouse magazines and claimed to be the first ever top Israeli OnlyFans model.
Hey everyone, Crime Wire Weekly has moved to its own new channel.
We hope you've enjoyed this preview. To continue listening, please follow the link referenced in the description of this podcast.
Or simply search Crime Wire Weekly wherever you're listening.
And don't forget to follow the show so you can be alerted when new episodes drop.
Thanks for listening.